All right, back to negative energy balance. So again, the moral of this story is that when you do not take in, enough calories, your body needs to get it from some storage of fat. And that's how we lose weight. So if your goal is to lose weight and become healthier, then you want to be in negative energy balance. One of the things, again, with eating disorders, which I know I keep coming back to, but we're going to talk a lot about, is that your body is in negative energy balance too much. So you've already used all your excess adipose tissue, and now your body starts looking for other places to get that energy from. Your body literally starts eating itself, sort of, in a way, because you don't have that fat tissue anymore. So it starts doing things like tearing down your muscles to get the energy it needs, and that's when we start seeing issues. Okay, but before we go too much further into that, let's talk about being underweight. So underweight is when there's too little energy is consumed over a long period of time. The body derives energy from fat stores, leading to weight loss, which, like I said, is an okay thing. But when too much fat is lost, the person becomes underweight. Being underweight is associated, just like being overweight is associated, with issues. With health issues. One of those health problems is osteoporosis, because you're not getting the nutrients you need, so your bones aren't that strong. Infertility, so if you're underweight for too long, you can actually make yourself not be able to have babies anymore. And heart failure, because this is hard on your heart. So being underweight has just as many health problems as being overweight, so you want a nice, happy medium, your normal or average weight. One of the ways that we monitor energy balance is by checking your BMI, or your body mass index. It's a good indicator of whether a person is underweight, overweight, or at a healthy weight. A BMI range should be used only for people who are 18 years and over, so you shouldn't even be checking your BMI because you're not old enough to be fit into these categories. So we're going to learn how to calculate it, and I think it's really important. But again, I need you to hear me on this one. You are not old enough to calculate your BMI because you're not over 18. If you try to calculate your BMI right now, it's not very accurate, and it might tell you that you're underweight and you're not really. It might tell you that you're overweight and you're not really. So again, I will say this one more time. You are not to calculate your own BMI. It isn't used for people who are adolescents or still going through puberty. We are all encouraged to maintain a healthy weight by balancing our energy intake with the energy expenditures, or energy that we use. Here's how we calculate BMI. You're going to take your kilogram weight over your meters squared. So step one is to know your height in meters and multiply that by itself. Step two is you're going to divide your weight not your weight, you're going to divide somebody's weight in kilograms by the answer to step one, or your height squared. That will equal your BMI number. Now you're going to look at a chart to calculate whether that BMI number is normal, obese, overweight, or underweight, depending on the person's height. So underweight is when your BMI is less than 18.5. You actually have to have a BMI of under 18.5 to be considered anorexic. Though, that being said, you can be diagnosed with an eating disorder before you reach this weight, because when you reach this BMI, because by the time you've reached this BMI, you've got some serious issues going on. Again, we'll talk about that another day. Being normal is when your BMI is between 18.5 but less than 25. You're considered overweight when your BMI is 25 but less than 30, and you're considered obese when your BMI is 30 to 40. You're considered very obese when your BMI is over 40. Again, even though we know how to calculate our BMIs, you are not to be calculating your own BMI because you are not old enough yet. You haven't completed puberty. We're going to do some practice problems of calculating BMI with Samantha, Dale, and Ruth, and you're going to be able to tell me whether they are underweight, normal, overweight, obese, or very obese. Let's try this. I should have clicked present so you didn't see the answers. Well, the answers are already there. Interesting. Anyways, so this is Samantha. She is 1.7 meters tall. So we know that meters goes on, or your height goes on the bottom when we square it. So 1.7 times 1.7, and you divide 51 by the answer to that. That indicates that her BMI is 17.6. Let's compare that to the recommended BMI ranges. Underweight is less than 18.5, so Samantha is considered underweight. She really needs to work on gaining weight by building muscle mass or increasing her calorie intake per day. We're going to do Dale's now. Dale is 1.95 meters tall. We're going to square that. Then we're going to take the answer to that and divide 82.5 kilograms. You'll find that Dale is 21.6 on his BMI scale. That means that Dale is healthy. We're going to calculate Ruth's now. Ruth is 78 kilograms. Sorry, Ruth is 78 kilograms heavy, or her weight is. She is 1.63 meters tall. We're going to square that, divide 78 by the answer to 1.63 meters squared, and we'll get 29.4. Ruth is considered overweight because she falls between the 25 and 30 BMI range. And just to review what you've learned so far, the goal of this lecture or series was to identify and define energy and explain why it's needed. Tell me some sources of energy in the diet. You should have learned carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. We want to understand how energy needs to change throughout life, so we know that babies and people that are growing and going through puberty need to increase their energy intake because they're growing, so they need it. We know that as you age, you need less energy, you need to eat less. That's why adults typically will eat less than children, although that's not always seen today. We need to understand the energy needs of different activities, so different activities will lead to different energy outputs. We know that activities like weightlifting and activities where you are targeting or using more than one muscle group is going to be what burns the most energy. We know that activities like sitting on the couch all day or sitting behind a computer all day does not burn the energy necessary. That's why we encourage you guys to get outside. Energy balance is balancing the energy that you put in your body with the energy that you use. You want it to be pretty balanced so that you are not storing too much in adipose tissue or fat tissue, so we want it to be balanced. We don't want to store the fat tissue, but we also don't want to use up so much of our fat tissue that our body starts using the muscles for energy. That doesn't really work either. So we want a nice healthy balance. And then lastly, we want to explain the problems associated with energy imbalance. We know that if you are overweight, it's often linked to diabetes type 2 and cardiovascular diseases, along with many others. The more overweight you are, the more stress and pull it puts on your joints. It's going to hurt more to do general activities like standing and walking, which makes it even harder to lose weight. We know that when you're underweight too, it can lead to issues. You can become infertile because you don't have the energy that you need to do things like grow your reproductive system. You can also have heart issues because your heart is working so hard to get that blood out, but it doesn't have the energy it needs, as well as some bone issues. Osteoporosis is when your bones do not have the calcium they need, so they're brittle. That's an issue as well. Okay, I hope you enjoyed. We are going to discuss nutrition soon, as well as eating disorders. This is definitely something I want to talk about, and we're going to have a discussion about, so please participate. If you're online, I invite you to join us on the Zoom call and really encourage it so that you can join the conversation too. All right, have a great day.